This episode is presented to you in the form of an audiobook.
People think girls become distant suddenly. But emotional distance usually starts long before anyone notices it. It starts in small moments. Moments where she felt ignored emotionally. Moments where she needed reassurance but stayed silent instead. Moments where she realized she was emotionally available for people who only showed effort when it was convenient. And slowly, her mind starts changing. Not because she wants revenge. Not because she wants attention. But because emotional exhaustion changes behavior naturally. A girl who once cared loudly starts caring quietly. That is the first sign. She still loves people. Still notices everything. Still feels emotions deeply. But now she hides it better. Because emotionally sensitive girls eventually learn, showing too much emotion to the wrong people becomes dangerous. So now she watches more. Speaks less. Observes energy carefully. And honestly, that version of her did not appear out of nowhere. Pain created her slowly. Especially repeated disappointment. Because repeated disappointment changes the nervous system emotionally. After enough emotional hurt, the brain stops expecting consistency. And once expectations disappear, effort disappears too. That is why emotionally exhausted girls suddenly stop trying. Not because they never cared, but because they cared for too long without feeling emotionally safe. People often misunderstand emotionally detached girls. They think, she doesn't care anymore. But many emotionally detached girls actually care deeply. They are simply afraid of becoming emotionally vulnerable again. That fear changes communication. Now she types messages and deletes them. Avoids expressing feelings directly. Pretends things don't hurt. Acts emotionally independent. Even when mentally, she still feels everything intensely. That inner contradiction becomes exhausting. Wanting emotional closeness, while also fearing emotional disappointment. That is the silent battle many girls fight privately. And social media makes this even worse. Because now girls constantly compare attention, effort, replies, online behavior, emotional availability. Everything becomes emotionally analyzed. That creates mental overstimulation. Especially for girls who already overthink naturally. And eventually, they become emotionally tired of everyone. Not because they hate people, but because constant emotional uncertainty drains them mentally. This is why emotionally mature girls eventually stop chasing explanations. At some point, they realize, if someone truly values me, their behavior will not constantly confuse me. That realization changes emotional standards completely. Now, peace matters more than temporary attention. Consistency matters more than empty words. Emotional safety matters more than emotional intensity. And this is where real emotional growth begins. Because emotionally immature attachment says, I need this person to feel okay. But emotional maturity says, I can care deeply without losing myself. That mindset changes relationships completely. And honestly, many girls become emotionally stronger after heartbreak. Not immediately. At first, pain destroys them mentally. They lose sleep. Overthink constantly. Replay memories repeatedly. Question their worth. Question their value. Question whether they were too emotional. But eventually, something shifts. One day she gets tired of abandoning herself emotionally for people who keep hurting her. And that day changes everything. Now she starts protecting her peace, her energy, her emotions, her mental stability. More carefully. And people call this attitude. But emotionally healthy boundaries are not attitude. They are self-respect. That is something many girls learn too late. Especially girls who spent years trying to make everyone comfortable emotionally. Because emotionally giving girls often ignore themselves completely. They prioritize other people's feelings, other people's comfort, other people's needs, while silently exhausting themselves mentally. And eventually, their mind reaches a limit. That limit is dangerous. Because once emotionally caring girls emotionally shut down, they rarely become the exact same again. Now they trust slowly, love carefully, and leave quietly. Not because they became cold, but because they finally understood. Their heart deserves protection too. And honestly, that realization is painful, but necessary. Because emotional maturity is not learning how to stop loving. It is learning where your love is safe. That changes everything. Especially for emotionally intelligent girls. Because emotionally intelligent girls naturally understand people deeply. Sometimes too deeply. They see hidden pain, hidden potential, hidden emotions, even in people who hurt them. And that empathy can become self-destructive. Because understanding someone's pain does not erase the damage they caused. That lesson is difficult emotionally. But important. Very important. Because many girls stay emotional.